Hello! Thank you for being here and thank you for choosing to be present. I'm your host, Angie, and this is episode 6 of the Mellow Magnifying podcast. We all have experiences that make this life feel difficult, and we all have intentions to mellow out and enjoy life. So with that being said, in this episode, we are going to be jumping into metaphors. And we'll be covering some common metaphors, a few metaphors that I found interesting, as well as magnifying their hidden messages. So look out for that magnifying sound in the pod so that you know what is important to look out for. So without further ado, let's get mellow. So, metaphors. A metaphor is a figure of speech, as we learned in grade school. I found a definition for metaphor on Google that read, a figure of speech in which a thing regarded as representative or symbolic of something else, especially something abstract. So just to dissect that a little bit, in which a thing regarded as representative or symbolic of something else. So the sentence may appear and be read saying something particular, although it has a completely different meaning or deeper meaning or an opposite meaning. The last few words says especially something abstract. So usually metaphors are used to describe something that is quite abstract. So, you know what else is abstract? Life. Life is very, very abstract. So metaphors are a great way of decoding what other people say and decoding the things around you and the things that you interpret. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into that. I have 7 common metaphors written down that resonated with me and I thought would be interesting for my listeners to hear and better understand. So, the first one being, that is music to my ears. This metaphor is really great when it's used in conversation, when you're referring to something that is like spot on, something that is just right. And a perfect example of that would be, my love knows when I'm having a stressful day or if I'm having a difficult day that I like to have a bath or go to the jacuzzi. So in a conversation that we would have, he would come up to me and say, hey mama, I noticed you've been having a difficult day. Would you like to de-stress at the jacuzzi, have some family time? And my response could be, that is music to my ears, which is the metaphor, meaning that, that what he suggested sounded perfect for how I was feeling and making me feel better and improving how I felt. That's an example of how the metaphor is used in like a daily conversation with, spouses. But this metaphor can be used in many different ways, like at Starbucks, if you're searching for a new drink and you ask the barista to suggest one and maybe it is music to your ears, or it's, TV static to your ears. Could be, who knows? But it's very common to hear that is music to my ears, and that's why I brought up this metaphor. The second one that I have written down is love is a fine wine. And if you know anything about wine, and I don't know very much about wine, I'm not very much of an alcohol drinker, but I do enjoy drinking wine, and I do know that it takes a very, very long time to make wine, and it's made with grapes that are, smushed and fermented, and they sit for a very long time. And what's most important with fine wine is time and patience. And if you know, if when you think about love, of course you think about all the great things that come with it, like having a partner, having someone to do things with and share life with, and all the positives that go with that. But you also have to think about the time and the patience that you've got to put into this relationship and this person. It's so important to make time. It's so important to make time for your relationship and make time for your partner. And also to be patient with your partner and to be patient with your relationship. Not everything is going to shape up super quick, and your partner ain't going to shape up super quick, because when you meet someone, the biggest realization that you should be making is that they have a lot of undoing to do. And if you're not willing to respect them and love them and be patient with them through that and give them the time and space to do that, then that's like not the relationship or the person that you should be with or be in. You know what I mean? So like, and you think about the wine critics that are all like serio about with the wines that they're drinking, and they're like shaking it and they're tasting it and sipping it and doing all that crazy stuff with it and stuff. Like, they take time and they know, like, okay, this wine went through an incredible process to get to its perfect stage. And love is an eternity of time and patience that you're putting into a person. So I just really love this metaphor of love is a fine wine. Number 3 is Heart of a Lion. This one immediately makes me think of the Care Bear Braveheart lion. That's the one that I had when I was a kid. My grandma had it at her house, and I finally was able to take it home. I remember it was like a big thing. The metaphor Heart of a Lion is really just embracing the fact that someone may be incredibly brave and willing to put themselves out there, and this could be someone that does out of pocket stuff, and it's like all the things that you would never do, but you're like, oh my god, that would be so much fun, but I could never. You know what I mean? That's like when this metaphor comes into play very well. I just want to emphasize that everybody has the heart of a lion. Everyone has overcome obstacles that when that obstacle arose, the initial instinct and feeling was, there's no way I'm getting past this. So I just want to emphasize that everyone, all of you, have the heart of a lion. And you are a brave heart lion, Care Bear, just like me. Did you know that I have a Care Bear heart tattooed on my butt? You know, where they have that little heart on their butt. Fun fact. Number 4 is, am I talking to a brick wall? Now this one is funny, and this one is used often. At least I've heard it a lot. So like this, comes into play when you're being disciplined, or you may be talking to like your significant other and they're just not getting it, or this could really happen in almost any situation: school, work, home, all the places, for real. So like when you say, am I talking to a brick wall, you're like referring to the other person like not getting anything what you're saying. Like they're not hearing you, they're not receiving anything you're saying, they're not understanding, they basically don't care, and they're showing it. And it's like you're talking to nothing, you're talking to a brick wall. And basically, like, if you were to look, if you were to really like talk to a brick wall, you would look batshit. And so like that's how one feels when you're like having a conversation with someone and the other person's like looking at you like, I'm not getting it, and it's like I'm also like not caring, and it's like rude. You know what I mean? Like you feel psychotic because you're like, am I talking to a brick wall? Like, is a bitch crazy? Is a bitch crazy? Is it, you know what I mean? Like you tripping in the middle of that conversation, you know what I mean? And that's why you bring it, that's like when the metaphor of am I talking to a brick wall is in full effect. Number 5 is, she has a heart of stone. So this metaphor is referring to one's heart, and like how open one is how I receive this metaphor. A heart of stone, like when you think of like a heart that's open, it's like flowing, there's light and there's flow and joy and stuff. And then when you think of a stone, it's like solid and like a solid color. It's probably like dark or brown or like black or gray. And like, not that those colors are bad, I'm just saying like these are low tone colors that have significance to feelings. And like, so when the metaphor is used like she has a heart of stone, it's referring to like maybe the openness of someone's heart. And like, if you're saying that someone has a heart of stone, you could be saying like, damn, like they're really tough, they've got a really tough like outer shell, like you really gotta like break through those feelings and those barriers and the boundaries and the walls that are set up. You know what I mean? Like an example of this is like, working to get to know a female before you jump into a relationship, and that female, isn't letting you sleep with them right away, or, has values in different ways in regards to like moving in, how much you guys are going on dates, and stuff like that. I've never really experienced that whole crazy dating era as like a adult. I'm happily with my soulmate, and I have no further searching to do. So those of you who participate in dating and getting to know people using the metaphor, she has a heart of stone, this could be used for a man as well. Like, he has a heart of stone as well. Like, a lot of men have very, very thick heart walls, and so do women. And so this is like what that metaphor is referring to. And if this metaphor pops into your head when you're getting to know someone, I just want to encourage you, I just want to remind you of that other metaphor that I mentioned earlier. Love is a fine wine. You just got to give it time and patience, and you got to give this person the time of day and also be patient with them. You know what I'm saying? That's very, very important. So yeah. 6 is, fear is a beast that feeds on attention. And if you did not see any of the harmony of fear and trust with my beautiful guest VG, I'm telling you, this metaphor is literally outlined in those 3 episodes deeply. But I'm gonna just give you a little sneaky peeky. So just to repeat it, fear is a beast that feeds on attention. So fear, being this feeling that we have very often, especially when things come up that we're like not aware of, that we weren't expecting, they seem impossible obstacles, those type of things, like that's when fear comes up. And it's saying that fear is a beast that feeds on attention. So like when you give fear attention, when you sit with the fear and you sit with it, what we dive into in the harmony of trust and fear, especially in episode 1 when we dive into fear, we're talking about how it's important to sit with your fear and give it some attention. In this metaphor, it's saying that fear is a beast that feeds on attention. So to circle, all of that together, it's important to give fear the right amount of attention, but not too much attention, because when you give it too much attention, that's when it becomes overbearing and more powerful than your trusting thoughts and your trusting feelings. So when fear arises, you do want to give it intention. You do want to sit with it for a little while. And what's most important to find and look for when you're sitting with your fear is why it's there, if it's relevant, if your life is in danger, and if it's appropriate to react and be fearful and act in that way. So with that being said, that's solely the amount of time that you have to sit with fear. That's the amount of attention that you want to sit with fear. You don't want to sit with it too far where you're like, that's when you're getting into the overthinking stage and you're like thinking too much about the fears, like, what if this happens to me, and this happens to me, and this happens to me, or this, and you get into all the unknowns, and that's where it gets really scary and uncomfortable. And that's when it, fear becomes the beast. And that's what's happening in this metaphor. The fear will become the beast if you do give it too much attention. You do want to feed it a little bit so that you can understand and listen to it and hear what it needs from you, and then counteract that with your trusting feelings. That's the most important thing. So it's absolutely doable. We are very, very, very powerful people, very, very powerful beings on this earth. Lastly, number 7 is life is a journey. So a general description of journey is like a trip that you go on, and it has details, and there's turns, and there's ups and downs, and you back up and you go forward, and you're doing all these things, and then you hit a 3-point, and then there's a fork in the road, and then you're over here, and then you're looking over there, and then you're driving this way. And that's what a journey is. And let me tell you, if that ain't what life feel like, you better tell me what the hell you doing, because I don't know. That's exactly what life feel like for me. Like, it's all the way up there, over there, down there, straight, forward, backwards, sideways, diagonal. We going all the ways. Like, that's life. Buckle up. You know what I'm saying? Life is a journey. and it's a gift. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful journey that comes with incredible lessons that we get to learn and take on with us and share with other people and give to our children. And it's incredible. It's an incredible journey. You get a new experience. That's what you get on a journey. You get a new experience. Every single day that you have life, every single day is a new journey. And every single day, you get a new experience. It's incredible. Quick little rant there. Let's jump into the ones that I found interesting. The first one that I found interesting was, each friend represents a world in us. Anais Nin. Like, damn. Each friend represents a world in us. Like, I'm thinking of all my gals, like all my friends. Like, damn. It's really, like, it's real. For real. Especially, like, even just, like, no, you know what? It's like, this is so true. I was trying to, like, compare it to not, like, a super close friend, but, like, you know, one of my love's friends who's not, like, he's, like, a homie, but he's not, like, my best friend. You know what I mean? Like, not like my gals. You know what I'm talking about? So, like, he doesn't fit into, like, each friend represents a world in us. Like, when I read that, I think of 6 people. Period. Like, y'all know who you are, like, for real. So, just, like, wow. If you think about the friendships that you have, ones that are near and dear to your heart, and that have been, like, you know, long lasting, they know all about the knit and grit of your life and your baggage and all your shit. Those are the friends I'm talking about. Like, them, if you particularly look at that person, you're like, what do I even like about this person? Why am I friends with this person? And then you think of this metaphor, each friend represents a world in us. Like, I'm sure you will see that person in a whole new, brand new, freaking beaming light. Like, I'm amazed by this metaphor. Like, it's incredible to see other, like, my beautiful friends in this, you know, new lens of just, like, that whole person is a whole world in themselves. And not only that, I love them because of everything about them and, like, everything that makes up their world. I love them for that. And it's incredible that, like, not only do I love that about them, but I realize now that I love that about them because it represents a part of me. That's so incredible, and I am so grateful for that, for real. The second one I have is exhaustion is a thin blanket tattered with bullet holes. Matthew Day. I'm probably gonna butcher this last name. Excuse me. Abaitua. Matthew A. Yeah. I don't want to I don't want to do that right now. So to read that again, exhaustion is a thin blanket tattered with bullet holes. And if you truly picture a blanket that's just tattered with bullet holes, you know, I picture like bullet holes from corner to corner, top to bottom, left to right, almost like a grid. Bullet hole, bullet hole, bullet hole, bullet hole, bullet hole. You know what I mean? Like that. And if you like were to hold that blanket, or if you were to even like try to use that blanket, or even like try to stand that blanket up, just like think of it. If you were to like try to stand that blanket up, there's no way you could stand that blanket up because of how much tattered holes are in it, and how much fabric has been lost, and like how much it can't support itself. You know what I mean? And I love how it's being compared to exhaustion, because that's like exactly what exhaustion feels like. It feels like something's been ripped from you, and you want to give everything you have, but everything you have just isn't enough. And you barely can hold yourself up, but you damn near like feel like you're gonna pass out. But you still out here, doing the dishes, changing diapers, going to work, taking your animals on walks, taking care of your home, all the things. Like, you're still doing all those things. And it feels impossible to do those things because you legit feel like a blanket with tattered bullet holes. You feel like a blanket tattered with bullet holes. Like, just weak and needing support. You know what I mean? Needing more of something. Needing energy or fabric. You know what I mean? The next one that I have is, it's actually a Bible verse. Isaiah 64:8. But how, O Lord? You are our Father, we are the clay, and you are potter, and all of us are the work of your hand. We are all created in God's image, and we are all created by His hand. Whether you refer to God as God or Source or Allah or whatever your religion refers to, your all-powerful source of being. And that maker is exactly what it's exactly what he is. He's our maker. And in this verse, in this metaphor, it says, we are the clay and you are potter. All of us are the work of your hand. And so when you think of someone who works in ceramics and makes clay pottery, you're sitting there spinning. It could be for a few hours, and you're working your hands for a minute, like trying to get the figure right, trying to get the form right. And so that's like what it's referring to. Like, we are all made perfect, and God takes our time with us. Like, we weren't just thought up in a few seconds. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sexy time maybe last that long, but God spent so much time thinking out and knowing exactly what He has planned for you, and what you're gonna look like, and what your body's gonna be like, and how your body's gonna take care of you in this lifetime, and all those things. Like, God takes His time, and our source is incredible and has the power to create incredible things just like that. The next one I have written down is, time is a moving image of eternity, Plato. So this one I wrote down because it's just really interesting to read. Time is a moving image of eternity. Like, I appreciate time. I appreciate numbers, and like, I appreciate knowing like I've gotten something done in a certain amount of time that feels good. So in this metaphor, time is a moving image of eternity. Eternity is something that we can't see, something that we can't even explain really. It's infinite. And so time, just like numbers and just like everything else in the world, was made up. And so Plato's simply saying time is the moving image of eternity. Time is what we have made up to imagine and begin to even comprehend or calculate the movement and the vastness and the infiniteness of eternity. Time is a visual thing that we get to see and measure. It's a moving image that we get to watch. The clock continues to tick. You watch even on the clocks that just have the numbers. It continues and continues to change time, to move forward, to go forward and stop when. And that's exactly what eternity is. It's no ending. It's unknown. It's infinite. And time is something that has been made so that we humans can slightly be able to measure that in some kind of way. So, yeah. This metaphor is absolutely incredible, and time is truly a gift because we get to measure things, and sometimes we really have the ability to let go of time, and that feels really good when you do. The next one that I have written down is, even if you're on the right track, you'll get ran over if you just sit there. Will Rogers. So shout out to Will Rogers, because that's the truest shit I've ever heard. You could be on the right track, you could be doing everything right and doing all the things that that fit right with your purpose and your plan and the plan that God may have for you and everything like that. But if you sit there and do nothing, if you stop in your tracks and do nothing, you will get ran over with like life. And this like makes me think of like, I had a grip of homework to do over spring break this last semester, and I didn't do a single lick of it over spring break. And then I had to push. Now at the end of the semester, and it's pretty exhausting. So, even though I may be on the right track to graduating and doing what I need to do to, be a civilized human being on this earth with some kind of degree that makes me look decent as a person, I decided to kick it and to stop in my tracks, and I got ran over with assignments because I had to, not only did I have to do the assignments I was missing during spring break, but I also had to do everything going forward until now. So yeah, it's that's a life lesson right there from Will Rogers. Let me tell you again, even if you're on the right track, you'll get ran over if you just sit there. The last metaphor that I have written down is, my life has a superb cast, but I can't figure out the plot. Ashley Brilliant. And girl, let me tell you, your last name is, it's right on the money. And I don't usually, I'm not very fond of many Ashleys that I've encountered. I feel like Ashley, thank you so much for sharing this and putting this out into the world. This has to be so relatable to so many people, and including me. My life has a superb cast, but I can't figure out the plot. Girl, all these muff actors in my life, all these muff people playing a part, sitting in here trying to get me to trying to press my buttons, trying to get the old parts of me that I don't want anymore. Or how about the people that are saying they're doing super good for me, but they're not doing it good for me? How about the people that are they're out there in the world and they say they're doing really well for the world and they have all the good intentions, but the intentions are polar opposite. All those actors in my life, they superb. I mean, let me give out some awards. How about best bullshitter? Best waste my timer? Best play with my emotions? We got some good ones, you know what I mean? Best dress? Always on time? Never miss a text? And these are just general, these are not just particular people in my life. I'm just saying these are all the things that I'm assuming a lot of people also have in their lives. You know what I mean? There's an incredible amount of people that we encounter. There's an incredible amount of people that we encounter, and each person that we encounter has a particular reason for being in our lives and for sharing what they shared with us, or there's a reason why we encountered them. So and let me tell you, they are part of the cast. Okay. And I love the last part. I just can't figure out the plot. Let me tell you, I can't figure out the plot. I've been reading, trying to read between the lines and looking back, reading back and reading back and reading back. And maybe I shouldn't read back that much, but I was, and I did, and I'm here now. But oh my goodness, the plot. What's the plot? You know what I mean? I know it feels like that. I know life feels like that. Life feels like that. It's going nowhere. What's the ending? Where are we going with this? What's the end game here? You know what I mean? Thank you, Ashley Brilliant, for bringing this metaphor to my attention, because it's completely opened my eyes to an absolutely new view of life, and I see life through a new lens. So thank you so much for putting this metaphor out there, because and let me tell you, that's a really good one to end on. That's a wrap, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're tuning in via audio or via visual. Please stay connected on the socials at Mellow Magnifying Glass. If you haven't yet, please give yourself a gift by listening to the harmony of fear and trust. VG and I go super deep into how both these feelings harmonize together and how they interfere with our lives individually. And so it's such an incredible segment to tap into. So I just want to encourage you guys to go and listen to that. The last thing that I have to let you guys know is that I have an announcement for this month. I did mention before that I was going to be starting a added segment called the MELLOW Talks, which will be consisting of, multiple guests that will be sharing their particular views on a particular topic that we may be talking about. So it's about to be lit. It's going to feature some super cool people, from the homies to some pretty well-known people that have been out there in the world. So I'm really excited to be dropping these episodes. These episodes will be coming out Saturdays at 7 p.m. The first episode will be dropping May 27th at 7 p.m. There will be both an audio version and a visual version of the pod. So just know that the audio version will be shorter than the visual version. The audio version will be consisting of the juicy bits of the podcast segment, and the visual version will probably consist of more giggles and things like that. So just be aware of that in the future for that segment that's coming out. I'm very excited to put it out and share these people with you and share their views through the waves of sound to those who are open to the messages that Source has for them. Don't forget to tune in next Friday, 7 a.m. for episode 7. That's going to be with my love. He is going to be my amazing special guest. And my love, if you don't know who that is the incredible producing engineer, Anthony Kennedy. No gimmicks. No gimmicks. I say no gimmicks, it's a funny thing. But he makes incredible music. He's incredibly talented. I'm not just saying that for shits and giggles. I didn't listen to a lick of his music before I even dated him, and that's how you know, there was no, it had nothing to do with the music he made or how talented he was. It's not about that. Look at him. His soul. If you can't see his soul, then you don't know him. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, tune in next week for us to dive in together and share our views together. I'm really excited for you guys to see that live action. The last thing I will always leave you with is that life is a beautiful gift. Each day is a blank canvas that we get to fill with our experiences that we have that day. So let's choose to paint that canvas with the beautiful experiences that we get to pick and choose out of our day. And I'm so happy and honored to help my listeners do that and to encourage you guys to do that, because it truly does help. I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and go get mellow.